everybody, and welcome. This is Lynn Schulte here, and I have a very special treat for you today. I wanted to share this resource with you because I know as a parent, it can be very, very challenging for us to try to figure it all out. And so my hope for listening to this interview today is to help give you some resources, some information, some ways to help make things a little bit easier for you to be the best parent that you know that you can be. And so today I'm so excited to be able to introduce you to a friend of mine. Her name is Alison Smith. And Alison is a parenting coach. She has also been a teacher for over 10 years. She has been in the classroom, in administration, and special projects. So she's been around the field of education for over 10 years. And she is now devoted to helping parents become better parents. And so when we met each other and we started talking, I said, oh my gosh, Alison, this is such great information. I really want my people to know about this and to get this information from you. So we decided to do this interview so that you can hear from Alison and to get her wonderful piece of advice, lots of advice that you have for them. Right, Alison? Welcome. So glad you're here with me. Thank you for taking this time.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yay. All right, super. So now, one of our biggest pieces that we want to talk about today is this idea of advice giving, because I know it starts from when you're pregnant. You're walking around with that baby in your belly and everybody's got a piece of advice for you. And I know that doesn't stop once you have kids, and no matter how old your kids are, there is so much advice out there on what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. I know I was in a parenting group when my babies were younger. My kiddos are now 13 and 15, but when they were babes, I was in this new moms group. And the one thing we decided was that if you didn't like one piece of advice, just keep reading the books until you find something that you liked, because there's all different kinds of information out there. Is that what you're finding as well?
There is so much out there, and there's more every year. The internet is just full of ideas and suggestions and strategies and different approaches. And that's just when we go to look for information. Like you mentioned, there's so many people offering their point of view and their opinion as well. And it can be really overwhelming. Yeah. And in addition to that, a lot of it conflicts.
Yes, exactly.
One thing will tell us to let your baby cry it out, or you'll spoil them. They need to self-soothe. And then other advice is telling you, no, you meet your baby's needs right away, and then they'll become independent when they're ready. It's just so much.
It is. I mean, and it goes, I think, information technology is so fabulous because we can get so much information, but it's almost overwhelming.
It is.
And especially when you get that contradictory and, well, this person says to do this and this person says to do that. What's a parent to do? How do they really discern what's best for them?
I know. And parents could spend an entire full-time job researching this information.
Yes.
Fortunately, there are a number of people that make this their life's work, and they spend their own full-time jobs researching all of this stuff. So there's scientists that have developed a lot of studies, and we have learned so much in the past 5, 10, 15 years that we just didn't have that luxury before of knowing these things about child development, learning the relationships they need to thrive. But now there are people that are making it their life's work to share this information. So
yeah, and you
still need to look critically at what this information is.
And you have that scientific kind of background, don't you? Or are you enjoy reading that?
I do.
I know I don't. And I don't have that critical mind, so I do really appreciate those people that do, because that is a gift. I read something and go, oh, okay, that sounds good. Whereas others can really kind of discern it and nitpick it away to say, that's good, that's bad. Or not so good. I don't like to call anything bad, but, so tell me more about what, are you one of those people that do that full-time research on what's out there?
Not full-time, because I do spend some time actually teaching others about what to do with this information, but I do really enjoy looking at what's out there, and I'm so excited when the new studies come out, and they are consistently confirming what parents' instincts have been telling them for a long time. For example, meeting your baby's needs in the middle of the night is a good thing. We should be doing that. And so that will be a relief to a lot of parents who have been getting this erroneous message for decades that you shouldn't respond to your baby. So
Yeah.
things like that, I love
Yeah.
having that confirmation about what we all are hoping is the best way.
Right. And I
It
don't know if
even feels so much better.
yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned that you are a mom as well. So I have my two boys. You have two children as well. How old are they and what do you have?
I have a 6-year-old daughter going on 20. She's such a deep thinker. And she's spirited. She challenges me way more than I challenge her, I'm sure.
Yes.
And I have an almost 5-year-old boy who
Okay.
challenges me in different ways. But they're both really special kids, and I've learned so much from being blessed to be their mother.
Yes, we all learn a lot from our kids if we choose
Mhm.
to. Yeah.
Definitely.
So you have a guide that I was really excited about, and that I'm really excited to be able to share with our listeners here. And that guide is to help parents understand how to really filter advice. And
Mhm.
and you have tell me more about this guide.
So I've come up with a series of 8 questions that a parent can ask themselves when they come across a new strategy or a piece of advice to see if it's going to be the best fit for their family.
Okay.
And it ranges from looking at the science and what is that currently telling us, what is the best that we know at this point, and we know that's always changing, but there's definitely trends in one direction, all the way through to does this fit with my values and what I believe as important for my family.
Great. Yeah. And so I'd love for you to share maybe just one or two of those with us today. So what's one good question someone can ask when they're discerning the advice that they're
Mhm.
getting?
This one is so powerful. This one is looking at the piece of advice and measuring it against what is understood as developmentally appropriate for a child's age or stage of development.
Okay.
For the example I love to use is a child who hits. Traditional approach would be ignore it or take something away or punish the child so they learn a lesson. What's interesting is that if the child is 2 years old, they are not capable of reasoning in the same way that we do. So to punish them for something that they're not capable of doing, in that light, makes us realize that strategy is not a good fit for a family. So a 2-year-old, when they're upset, they're going to be flooded physiologically with hormones and that reactive mode. They aren't able to get into the higher part of their brain that's still developing, which helps them regulate their behaviors and their emotions. So we need to look for a strategy that fits with the child's development.
Okay. And so how does so first off, my first question is, well, when do they know? You know?
When would a child know?
Yeah, like at what age does a child know that hitting is not okay, and they can be, told that's not okay. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and let's be clear, we definitely do have that conversation with them, but we're not having that conversation with them when they're in the throes of the reaction and the emotion.
Okay.
We have to help them get settled first, and then we have the conversation and guide them and teach them and share what it is that we know about how the world works and what happens when we hit people. So
Yeah.
we need to help them through that and understand that they're not doing it to be bad. They're not doing it to hurt. They're doing it because they're just incapable of managing whatever emotions they've just been flooded with.
Right. So then, I guess at what stage or what point, and again, this all goes back to childhood development. And that's why I really honor, those of you that know the developmental ages. And see, I think all parents should know it, but that's almost like a full-time job, just understanding that.
Oh, it certainly is. There are hundreds and hundreds of experts that have PhDs in child development.
Right.
So
But
it's not possible for us to know it all at this point.
yeah, but it's so helpful for a parent to really understand the different developmental ages as a child's growing up, because, like, well, what do they really understand right now? What are they really capable of? And, I think that's the biggest step that a parent needs to understand for their kid is like, okay, where are they at right now? What do I need to know so that I can help them the most in this way? Yeah, that's
A good rule of thumb with that is we know our children. We know that they're good people. We know that they want to please us. So if they're not, that means there's something else going on. Either they're unable to, or, for example, they're physiologically unable, or they don't have the skills that they need, or they have another need that's stronger than the reasoning that we're expecting of them. So for the parents that I work with, I always get them to look at what's the underlying need, what's going on. Do they need skills? Do they need time to practice? Do they need support with this until they're able to do it?
Yeah.
So we know instinctually if our kid is really ready for something, and we need to get back to tapping into that, which
I love that, because a lot of times it could just be a need that they're really tired or they're really hungry.
And for my son, hunger is a huge thing. And he doesn't always recognize it at 4, and he's almost 5, but he doesn't always recognize that he's got the munchies bad.
Right.
And he just knows he doesn't feel good.
Right. And so then that's when they tend to act out. So
if I were punishing him because he needed a snack, that makes no sense at all, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But they don't fully understand that. And so I think, as a parent, it's our job to really be that. It's almost looking underneath the behavior, right?
Observation is huge as a parent.
Yes.
Huge.
Yeah. Perfect.
And in terms of the development, you mentioned something about it being a very big job to be an expert in child development. And as parents, with all that we have on our plates, we just can't. So we need to make sure that we're finding some really good sources of solid information where we can go when we have these questions, like, is age 4?
Oh, shoot, you froze up on us. So I'm going to stop you there, and hopefully you'll come back online here. Sorry about this, guys. If you're... Oh, Allison, you broke up. So start back to is age 4. That's where I froze you. So what were you going to say there with is age 4?
So if a parent is wondering, is age 4, is this a reasonable expectation for a 4-year-old? So we need to have sources of information where we can go and ask those questions.
Yeah. And so then again, so what's a good website? How does a parent really discern if this is accurate? I guess if we're looking at child development, if we read a couple of different websites and they're saying the same thing, then we can pretty much discern that that's right. Yes? Do you know what I mean? Or not?
Not always. Because there are still a lot of people who are teaching parents that aren't up to date on the current information. So there are still parenting experts that are telling parents to use timeouts. They're telling parents to nip it in the bud, as we've heard for years and years. And we now know that those strategies, not only are they ineffective, but they have some damaging consequences long term.
I know.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. This leads into one of the other questions that I encourage parents to consider when they're looking at advice. And that is this strategy going to connect my child and I, or is this going to disconnect us?
Oh, God, I love that. And I just have to say, we'll talk more about this, but again, my kid's 13, 15 years old. So this is 15 years ago when timeouts and all that were, the rage. And I did it. And I know that it didn't connect us at all. And I have to say, getting through those toddler and, years was really, really challenging for me. And now that my boys are older, so I just, if anyone's done stuff that they wish they wouldn't have, which I totally did, I want to say that my relationship with my boys today is amazing. and I have such a deep connection to them that, I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't really matter how bad I messed up back then, that it's always repairable. But I would just help that, parents can try to be as conscious as they can. And, one of the biggest things that I've found helpful is just apologizing to my kids.
That's huge.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe how much that has brought us closer, by just saying, you know what, honey, I look back on that and I wish I would have done it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I didn't know any differently at the time. I do now, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, that shows tremendous respect for your children as people. And in addition to that, you're giving them such a gift by modeling how to make amends.
Yeah.
And we all make mistakes.
Exactly. And I loved it because after I finally, because my parents were very proud. They would never, ever have apologized, for doing something wrong, and they were never wrong.
and it was like, don't show fear. Don't show any crack in the armor, because then they won't respect you. Then you'll lose the control and all of those other things that we've all been told is what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, but I tell you, it was, I guess, one of the proudest moments in my life is, cause we all lose it as parents, right? We all hit the ceiling, and, we hit our limit, and we yell at our kids. And so I just remember after yelling one time, I was like, oh, honey, I am so sorry. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I shouldn't have raised my voice like that. That wasn't very nice. I apologize. And then, like, maybe a couple of days later, my youngest son loses it, and I let my kids express themselves, and just kind of hold space for them. And afterwards he goes, I'm sorry, Mom. I shouldn't have done that. I was like, oh, thank you.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
And we could have told them how to do that over and over and over 1,000 times, and it would not have had the effect of seeing it modeled.
Yeah.
And feeling that respect from you toward him to then want to give that back. And really that's what the connection is all about. It's developing that relationship, so then we have that influence to guide them and to teach them.
Yeah. And I tell you that our kids really do want our input, but it's the way in which we give it. Right. And my oldest comes to me for advice, and it's just, I've kind of shared just some, ideas here and there along the way. And then when he really had a problem and he came to me and I was able to help him solve it, it's like he respected that even more. And now he still comes to me for advice today. And it's just, I cherish the relationship I have with him. And yet it all comes down to that connection.
It does.
And I'm just so grateful to hear that from you. Is there a way, Alison, do you have any tips or ideas or ways for parents to really develop that connection between them and their children?
I'm full of it.
Okay, good.
I've actually created a guide. I call them GPS guides, Gentle Parenting Strategies.
Oh, I love it.
A GPS guide, because we all wanted a baby that came with a manual, right?
Oh, totally. Wouldn't that have been great?
So instead of a manual, because every child is different and every parent is different, we have a GPS, so at least we can get in the right direction. So I have a GPS guide for 20 ways to connect, and that's free to anyone who follows my emails. So I'll give you the link for that, and you can share it with whoever you like. And I'd love to share that with your followers as well.
Awesome. We'll give that at the end of our conversation here. So stay tuned. Sure. So we've talked about connecting and knowing your children's piece of advice. So, I want to talk a little bit more about parents really tapping into their own instincts, to their own knowingness. How do you work with parents to really help them tune into that more?
Well, intuition is interesting, because if we fight it for a long time, we begin to ignore it. The voice gets quieter. And so it takes a little while to get back in touch with that, and to start to recognize the physical feeling of this isn't fitting right, or this isn't sitting right. And that just takes some practice and some listening.
Okay.
But what I do tell parents, especially new parents, they know right away what they want to do for their baby.
Mhm.
What's getting in the way is this antiquated advice that is so fear-based.
Mm.
So fear of spoiling your babies, fear of your child not respecting you when they're older. All of these ideas that are really based in control and fear as opposed to love and openness and allowing.
Yeah.
And so if we can, I like that term you use, hold space for people to recognize what it is they want to do with their baby, and to also allow their baby to speak to them, because babies give us so many cues that we've gotten out of touch of listening to those.
Oh, that is so true. So, so true.
The example of the baby that's being passed around to all of the relatives, you can tell that that baby is getting tired and overwhelmed or overstimulated. They start to turn away. They start to wiggle and fuss. And if we could just respond to that right away, that baby would then have greater trust in themselves. And the parent would have greater trust that they know their baby.
Yeah. Oh,
But so much of that advice gets in the way of what we really already know.
yeah. That's so true. That's so true. And that gut instinct is so powerful within us. But I love what you say about trusting that. And I know our intuition is always trying to talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, if we don't listen to it or we don't acknowledge it, like you said, it gets quieter. And
Mm-hmm.
so it is really, it's acknowledging that and noticing, oh, that's my intuition. Oh, okay, this is what I'm being guided to do. And when you do it, then it can get stronger again, right? It's like a muscle.
It is, and it's interesting when we act on the intuition
Hmm.
and we see the result, we're more likely to trust it the next time.
Yes.
And it's really powerful when we have a really strong feeling, but we don't follow it. We learn a lot from that as well, that I should have listened to it. That's what the signs were.
And I think, and here's something I really want to talk about is those healthcare professionals that we give our power over to. Oh,
Mhm.
it's the doctor. The doctor knows better. And I'm like, heck no, he doesn't know your baby. So he doesn't know your child. He can
Mhm.
advise.
Yes.
We don't need to give our power over and do exactly what they say. And so I want to help women. I want to help parents understand that you have the ultimate say in what happens to your child medically.
Hmm.
Tuning into that intuition and listening to your heart and seeing if that really resonates, whatever the doctor's advising.
Hmm.
And if it's not, go get a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion, whatever it takes
Exactly.
for you.
With parenting too, if it's not sitting right with you, get a second opinion.
Yes, yeah. And so I guess, our big message here, Allison, for everybody, for our parents, is that to really listen to yourself, to listen to that inner knowingness. And I know in my work with helping women, recover from childbirth and pregnancy, is that a lot of trauma can happen during the childbirth process that
Hmm.
can disconnect a mama from that intuition, from that knowingness, from that connection to the baby.
Hmm.
So, if moms are struggling, if they're, finding that they're not in tune with their baby, that there is some work that they can do themselves to help reconnect and get that healing. And I tell you, I work with the birth energy field, the field of energy as that baby's coming in. And if there was a lot of trauma, a lot of chaos, that really disrupts things. And if you're having a hard time with your baby, by clearing and healing that up, it totally transformed us. And I even worked with a mom who had a 16-year-old, and we
Hmm.
worked on her birth trauma, and it totally changed her relationship with her 16-year-old.
Wow,
So,
that's amazing. I can't wait to hear more about that.
well, it's just there's so much power in that birthing field and how the babies come out that really imprints into who they are and our connection or ability to connect with them. And so I know we're talking so much about really connecting with your children and having that inner knowingness. And I guess I want to just help reassure moms that if they are having a hard time with that, that there may be something from that birth that needs to be cleared or healed in them to help make that easier. So
Mm-hmm.
um, we have there's so much that can be done to really help encourage that connection with mom and child. And so, Alice, I absolutely love what you're doing with your work and helping parents out. And so you have this report. It's the I'm sorry, I don't have my notes here.
The
Uh,
GPS guide for advice.
the GPS guide for advice. So this guide has 8 questions that you can ask to determine whether or not that advice is right for you. And I think what's really important to let people know is that they don't have to take all that advice, right? Just because it's given to you doesn't mean you need to take it on, right?
Exactly. And just question critically what information you're getting, whether it's parenting or medical or anything else.
Yeah. So Alison, how do you help mamas? How do you help parents? How do you work best with people to help them be better parents?
I have a lot of different options for working with parents. Everybody is unique in how they learn best, as I learned as an educator. And so always there's one-on-one, which is a fantastic way to get some insights and clarity, feedback. It's like holding up that mirror to see our blind spots that we're not able to see by ourselves. And so that's a really powerful process. It speeds up our learning tremendously. But it's not for everyone. Some people like to learn independently, and so I have these parenting guides that I have. I have some videos and audios as well, and a lot of PDFs. In addition to the independent learning, I also have groups. So I have a parenting group, which is like a mastermind. So the parents, the same small group of parents, get together on a regular basis, and we go through some instructional content, but we also look at what's going on in their lives and what they need.
Nice.
And we problem solve, we brainstorm, and we apply that content to their unique situation.
Nice.
In addition to that, I also have discussion forums, and I'm creating a really exciting forum right now for parents. It's a membership site. It would include 24/7 access to discussions with other parents that are on the same journey. There are a number of experts that will be involved that will be sharing their wisdom as well in conversations. There will be monthly, at least once a month, expert sessions where someone will come in. It could be me, it could be a friend who would come in and give some of their information, whether it's on sleep, whether it's on tantrums, whether it's on preteens, whatever the topic. And we're also going to have live Q&A sessions online.
Great.
So parents get to jump in whenever they need it and ask their questions and get some answers specifically for them.
Oh, that's so helpful, especially when you're in the midst of the throes of the problem. You can't see outside of it. To have something to, oh my gosh, this is what's going on, what can I do, is so helpful.
And to get some of those answers right away. Yeah. 2 a.m., you're up, you can't sleep, you need an answer right now. Yeah. There could be 40 other parents online as well. A mom up there.
Right. Oh, shoot. You just broke up again. Shoot. Hang on, guys. Sorry about that.
For people from all across the globe.
Yay.
Oh, no.
That's great. No, we kind of heard that you can connect with people at 2 a.m. from all across the globe. Someone's going to be up. It's going to be the middle of their day. So that's perfect. That's great. So, Alison, how can people find out about your resources? And also, we want to give them the parent advice guide, the GPS. Yes. I love that. Gentle parenting strategies. I love that. So they can find that at AlisonSmithCoaching.com/advice. And Alison, is it with 2 L's, correct? For your
it's 1 L, but you can get to it either way.
Oh, okay, good. You got the URL for both. Great. So AlisonSmithCoaching.com/advice. And you can download her free report on how to handle advice and those 8 questions to really ask yourself to determine if this advice is right for you. And then you can also learn more on her website, coaching.com to learn more about her forums and memberships and other programs. So Alison, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. I love, love, love the idea of really making sure you're connecting in with your kid and that you're doing age appropriate interventions for them, right? So thank you, thank you. Any last words of advice you'd want to share with everybody?
Should I give advice? I don't know.
They might not want to take it.
That's okay. They can filter it now.
Right, right.
You know, what I would like to say to parents, you mentioned that we all make mistakes, and that is so true. Even the parenting gurus out there are all making mistakes as well. What's important is to not just be gentle with our kids, but to be gentle with ourselves.
Yes.
And to recognize that we all make mistakes, and it's a great opportunity to model for our kids what happens when you make a mistake. So it's really a learning tool. So you want to be making mistakes.
Right.
But also this line has always resonated with me. When we know better, we do better.
Oh, I love that.
If we've never known a certain way of doing something, or we've never had that seed planted to make us really reflect on something, we can't be expected to know it. But once we do, that's where the power is. Now we can do better. So if we didn't before, you know, it's okay. But now we do. Now we know, and now we can.
That's great. And we know that there's ways to get that knowingness, right? To reach out, to get the help, and to learn what we don't really know. And it's okay to admit that we don't know it. And especially to our kids, I tell you, that was the most powerful, most profound moment with me was when I just, you know, and I have to share this. I was sitting around a table with a bunch of 20 some odd year olds. I was 20 at the time. And we were celebrating a holiday together. And one of the girls said, "Screw a college fund for my kids. I'm setting up a therapy fund." Because we were all kind of talking about how messed up we were from our parents and, you know, how we were raised and everything. He's like, you know what? I know I'm not going to do it well, so I'm just going to set up a therapy fund for my kid so they can get the help they need.
And what would be even better is to take that money, invest in your own work and healing yourself so that we're not passing on those patterns.
Amen. Amen.
You know, they might need to talk to a coach about a couple things, but hopefully we'll be teaching them the tools and modeling for them how to live an empowered life and how to be reflective and more conscious. And I really think that's the key.
I do. I agree. And our kids come here to help us to grow, and they teach us. Right? We said that.
It's a great way to look at it because it's going to happen whether we admit it or not.
So you can either fight it or you can learn from it and grow.
Exactly.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so much for your time, Alison, and thanks for sharing your wonderful wisdom and your GPS guides with us. I really
You're welcome. Thank you.
Take advantage of looking through that and knowing that there are ways to help support yourself in being a better parent, because we all know that we love our children so much and we want to be the best parent we can be. And sometimes it takes a little help and guidance along the way, and discerning what the best guidance is for you is so important. So thank you for that gift. And again, you guys can go to AlisonSmithCoaching.com/advice. And you can get those downloads there. All right, great. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And thank you, Alison. Really appreciate this and wish everybody the best, and go love on your kiddos. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.